Long-winded way of saying you're just tracking your money.
We're in a podcast, man. It's long-winded. That's the whole point.
Hello guys and welcome back to the Matt Talks Money podcast. This is episode 4 of the new series What They Don't Teach You, and today we're joined again by Ollie. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hi. I'm so glad you clarified the 4, by the way, just in case
four.
people can't count.
Yeah. Today's episode is about budgeting, and budgeting is an essential thing they don't teach you in school again, because they don't teach you much in school, do they? But
Well, nothing useful, really.
No, about Pythagoras' theorem. But anyway, I only started budgeting when I went to uni. How about you? Did you start earlier? Did you start before?
Yeah, well, I started when I started work. Well, actually, I think I started before that. I remember when the internet banks first came out. That's kind of what made me start. I mean, I was always very, I'd say I was very cautious, but I didn't budget per se. I was just like, if I want something, I'll buy it. I'll save up for it, and then I'll just.
Yeah, I regret. Well, I don't regret. I should have budgeted when I had my job at Waitrose, because I blew basically all the money. But also, it then teaches you to budget in the future. But no, I only started budgeting properly at uni, sort of because I had to. Because obviously, when you go to uni, we'll do a whole episode. I think we do a whole episode on uni, aren't we? But when you go to uni, obviously, you have to pay for rent and bills and food and all that kind of stuff. Because when you're at home, 9 out of 10 times your parents pay for most things, so you don't really have to budget.
Outing your privileged white status, man.
Okay, yes. People might think I'm from Surrey, but I'm not. You're from Surrey, aren't you?
Yeah. You full on know exactly where I was from. You're just baiting me now. What are you doing? Wow.
Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, budgeting's very important. How would you sum up budgeting, Ollie, for people if they don't know what budgeting is at all?
I would say it's putting in safeguards and automatic systems that allow you to be aware of how much money you have and aware of how much money you're spending, so that you can track the areas that you're possibly overspending in. If you constantly find you don't have enough money, basically.
Long-winded way of saying you're just tracking your money.
We're in a podcast, man. It's long-winded. That's the whole point.
But yeah, it boils down to just seeing what comes in and what goes out, and then because it amazes me how many people I've spoken to, and they have unused subscriptions for this, that, and the other, and it must amount to like hundreds of thousands a month. And I'm like, really, how can you not know what's going in? Mm-hmm. This isn't to say that I'm sure Ollie won't want to admit it, and I will happily admit it. There are some months I don't stay to my budget at all. Some months.
Don't know what you're talking about.
But if you stay on your budget, 9 months out of the year, and you only go over 3 months, then it's not the end of the world.
Especially if you go over 1 month, you can be more aware of it, and then for the month afterwards, you can try and be more cautious, and then you can balance them out.
Definitely.
It's just awareness, really, I guess.
So, Ollie, how do you budget?
So I use internet banks, which probably are one of the best things to happen for, I'd say, like everyday financing recently, just because it allows it to be sort of a productivity app on your phone, so you can set it up to be exactly how you want it to work. As you set up your own phone. So I have I think I've spoken about this before, but I'll explain it in a bit more detail. So in installing the app, there's a number of different ones. There's Revolut, there's Monzo, there's Starling, there's...
It's interesting though how the older style banks like HSBC are trying to catch up, but they haven't got there yet.
Yeah,
I don't think they will, because
there used to be a massive gap, but now they have shrunk it a little bit. But it's still nowhere near as effective. But no, so you have these what's called saving pots, and every time I spend money on my card now, if I spent £3.70, 30p of that, I have £4 leave my account, £3.70 goes to whatever thing I bought, and the other 30p goes in a little pot, which is still technically in my account, but it's not shown as my current balance.
So it's a roundup feature, right?
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what that is. I'd say that's the best way of doing it. And other than that, so at the beginning of uni, I set up rent. I was in charge of the house, so I set up sort of rent finances, so I knew how much I needed to get off all my tenants. All my tenants, they're not my tenants, my mates. in order to make it feasible. But then after that, I then was like, okay, so this is how much I've got. This is how much it's going to spend on rent. Let me budget so that I have the same amount each week. Because the amount of friends that I had in first year that received all their student loan and were like, oh, I've got like £1,500, let's go and do this and that. And then you get to week 7 of a 12-week term and they're like, I've got 20 quid left.
Yeah, my mate in second year got his student loan and then just bought like a piano you've got in the back of you, in the background.
With the whole thing.
Well, it was a large chunk of it. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I think. Well, I mean, if you've come from not having to budget, and then if you just get like, sort of fed money, and you sort of, because student loan is sort of free money, you see it at the time as free money, right? Yeah, people can be reckless with it because it just happens to be. I'm actually going to try and share my screen. Sorry if you're listening on Spotify. You'll have to watch it on YouTube to see what's going on. But I'm going to show you how I budget, Mystery. I don't even know if you know this. Do you know this?
I haven't seen this. No, this is new for me.
Can you see my screen now?
I can. Yes. You have a expense form. Wow.
So I can't take any credit from this. The credit goes to this website, Deborah Ho. There'll be a link somewhere else if you want to look at it. Basically, it's all done with Google Forms and Google Sheets, and so I spend on my Monzo, and so I get alerted when I spend money. So at the end of every day, I'll have like maybe 5 notifications of what I've spent. I'll then go on my computer and then I'll type in what I've spent for the day. So I put in the date, the item, the amount, and the various categories I've got. You can add these categories because it's my form. I can just add it whenever I want, etc., etc. I then also do the same for if the internet will work, income. So where my various sources of income here, and I won't show you mine because it's a bit personal, but you can see it's going to populate a spreadsheet like this down here. And what this does is it then constantly adds whenever you add to the spreadsheet. And the green line here is your budget, and here is what you spent. And I did some coding on this Excel spreadsheet to see whether it's green if I'm under or red if I'm over, type thing. Yeah. And I just check that once a month. I don't really check it often. But yeah, that's just how I budget.
So do you fill it in every day?
Normally, yeah.
Or you have to fill it in with like the stuff you spend in a day?
Yeah, which in a way makes it subconsciously less likely for me to spend something because it's more effort to actually spend the thing because I've only got to put it on the spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I suppose that's a good mental.
It's quite interesting, but also sometimes shocking. Like I think in January in the lockdown when I was born, I was buying paint by numbers and all this kind of stuff off Amazon. I think I spent £200 on Amazon in January or something stupid like that.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, I can imagine myself doing that.
Yeah. But then it's interesting to see. Then obviously February, then I realised that and I cut it down. But yeah, how I also that's the massive benefit is that the more you keep an eye on it, you can then go, oh my gosh, look how much I've spent on Amazon, and then every time you go on Amazon afterwards, like I've spent so much on Amazon last month, I can't do it. Yeah, I was just going to check actually. I have the roundup feature on. Ollie's a massive Starling fangirl. I'm a bit of a Monzo fangirl.
Can't we both be fanboys?
Yeah, fanboys. Anyway, so I'm just going to check my roundup. So I've got £42 in there.
Oh wow! Actually, should I check mine?
Just from as Ollie said, you might spend £3.50 and then the 50p goes in there. It racks up quickly, and that's easy enough for one or two food shops that you've just thought you hadn't had the money.
I call my roundup feature my Triggy Piggy because it's like my little piggy bank.
God.
Yeah. Because, you can call me sad if you want, but I don't care. No, mine's only at 23 because I think I actually spent something out of it last.
Yeah, but it's good anyway.
Mm.
Another revolution I had on budgeting was when I read the book that I lent Mr. Trigg and he hasn't read it. Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
No, that's not true. I read a little bit of it and then left it at home, and I actually don't know where it is.
Basically, towards the end, it talks about I don't know if you know a well-known method called the 50-30-20 method of budgeting. Do you know about that?
No, but I can imagine what that is.
Yeah, so it's 50% goes to needs, so like rent, petrol, things like that. Then 30% goes to wants, so you want, I don't know, whatever you want. And then 20% either goes to saving or investing, depending on what financial state you're in. There's an even simpler version of that if you're just new to budgeting, which is 80-20, which is 80% anything and 20% saving. But anyway, the Secrets of a Millionaire Mind takes the 50-30-20 and puts it even further. It goes 50% needs, and then it goes into like 10-10-10-10. 5 10s. And they're for various things. I adopted it, and I think it's customizable to who you are. So it was like 10% to like books, and I don't spend that much on books, so I don't need to spend 10%. 10% to like savings, 10% to holidays, and then 10% to an emergency fund. But the 10% I found interesting was the play account. I've told you about the play account.
Is this the fact that you have to spend money every month?
Yeah, so this is 10%, so I think it worked out about 30 quid a month for me, or something, based off what I live off at uni. And every month I have to spend that money, because then it curbs my random spending. Like I never really just sit on my computer and go, I want to buy some clothes, I want to buy this. But by spending that £30 on something sort of random, it curbs my spending. I budget for my unexpected spending, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I remember you telling me about that, and it's actually a very good idea, because you can either get in the habit of spending everything, and then you try and budget, and you're like, oh, this is depressing my life because I'm not spending any money, and it's just going up, and blah blah blah. And that can either be a great thing because you love to see the numbers going up, but it could also be a very negative thing, and put your mindset towards saving money at a negative state, because you're like, it doesn't, just because I have to save money means I can't buy anything, which is not true at all. So it kind of balances that act of allows you to actually save most of your money, but then like satisfies that crave.
Yeah, I think with these online banks like Monzo and Starling, I think, like you said, the best feature of them is the automation of it. Because if you were to manually then go buy a coffee and then have to manually transfer the 30p, you'd never do it.
No.
I mean, I think the best thing about budgeting is to. I know I have to fill in a spreadsheet, but there's no real way of me. Well, it sort of is, but I find it easier to do it manually. But if you can automate some parts of it, then you're more likely to stick to your budget.
Yeah. And even that spreadsheet that you've got, although it's much more in depth than any internet bank can give you, it is. A lot of people will be like, I can't be bothered to do that every day, so I'm not going to do it, and then not track it. But if you use an internet bank, that does it for you. So each month, I don't know about Monzo, but Starling, each month they will tell me you've spent this much each month, and it will break it down in like categories of like transport and leisure and food, and it does it automatically, but you can go and then change it if it gets it wrong, and it shows you your big purchases as well, which is great.
Another way around what you were saying about if you can't be bothered to do it. This is only if you're going to be really careful with your money. Is go watch the last video we talked about credit cards. Get a credit card, and then do the spreadsheet at the end of the month when you've got a bill of, I don't know, £1,000 on the credit card, and then just do it for every item there. I try to do that. Yeah. I personally just find it easier to know what I'm spending day to day rather than a credit card. I use my credit card for other things, but that's another way to do it. Because I think we're both quite savvy with money and with budget, etc. The amount of people, especially in first year at uni, when you go and then you go on a big night out and you're always hungover, and they go, "Oh, don't look at my bank account; it's going to be really like battered." I never really had that because
no, neither did I.
I sort of knew that a night out was going to cost 20, 30 quid, and I accounted for that, and then went and shopped at Aldi and bought the bare minimum, so I had the money rather than going, "Oh no, I'm skint now," and I never dread looking at my bank account.
Or even if I went on a night out and I'd spend quite a lot, I'd know that maybe my budget for that week was still going to be at zero, but I knew that it was only for 3 days. It's not like I hadn't planned for it up until the point. So now the rest of term, I haven't literally got no money. It's just until the end of the week. So I've either planned for it and bought food in advance, so then I know how much I've got to spend on a night out, or I'm on the night out going, I've only got, I don't know, 30 quid left this week, so I need to buy food, so let me just be careful. And then you just stand with other people.
I think there's a balance between sticking to it religiously. I can't spend more than 30 quid on food. Like, if you spend 35 one week, it's fine. Like, because I've got a YouTube video coming out about money isn't everything, and although we talk about money on this channel, it's not the be all and end all. So if one week you're feeling rubbish, then just go buy yourself a takeaway. Who gives a crap if it's £10? But having the budget there 90% of the time will save you money than not having it there.
What do you think of the apps that are now available, like Yolt, and the ones that sort of budget for you? Have you heard of that? Have you heard of Yolt?
Yeah, they sort of link to your bank account, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't think they've really taken off 100%.
No.
There's
but
like one called Plum.
That's because I think they're based towards quite. I'd say they're based at like teens, right? literally uni students, and I don't think many uni students are that bothered.
I think
they'll complain about it, but then they won't do anything to fix it.
If you're going to uni and you haven't had a job before, there's no point. You have probably no need to budget, right, until you get to uni. And even at uni, you can probably just get by. It probably will hit you more when you become like when you graduate and get a job, that you might need to budget more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I've looked into them, but I didn't really like them. There's a point where you get too many. You get too many apps at one point, isn't there? And it's like, yeah.
I downloaded Yolt and used it for like a week, but didn't really find it was very beneficial. But then again, I probably didn't get into it enough. And also, what was that app that connects to your bank? Plum, and it like invests for you.
Yeah, see, Plum. The only thing I liked about Plum is that it told me every morning what was in my bank account. That's all I used it for.
Yeah.
It's now been disconnected because I haven't used it for so long. But that would invest a certain chunk of your money. It would see how much money you've got. But that kind of scares me that an algorithm can know that.
And can take money out of your account by itself.
Yeah, so I didn't like that. But yeah, I don't think I don't know if those will take off.
No, well, we'll see.
But I think everyone has their own type of budgeting style. Like if you ask anyone, I'm sure if you ask your family, of your friends, everyone's got a different style, and it's just what works for you. That if it works for you, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'd say that the key sort of tips are: you're obviously not going to spend everything that you get. Try and prepare in advance rather than trying to do it day to day or week to week, because you shouldn't have the same amount. You'll never have the same amount of income every day. Like there'll be big expenses that happen on particular days, and just be more aware. I'd say that's quite hard to just say and be like, that's just what you have to do, but that is literally what you have to do. Just
even if you just go once a month on the first of the month or the end of the month, sit down, scroll through your bank account, and then see, Netflix has gone up, but I haven't watched Netflix, or Spotify's gone up, but I haven't listened to Spotify. Just things like that, and cut the crap out, as it were. But yeah, just be aware of it and just try and be on top of it. But I think the key to budgeting, as we said, is automation. So whenever some money comes into my bank account, a chunk is already automatically by direct debit going to different accounts. So I don't actually see it.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we had to manually do it, I wouldn't do it.
See, I still manually make myself do it. That's only at the moment though, because I don't have like a solid income that comes in every month. So I set this budget up for uni, so I have the same amount every week. But then because I don't have an income, I automatically take a percentage of that and put it in that little savings pot straight away. Yeah. So my money comes in every Monday, and let's say, I don't know, it's 60 quid. And normally I would just live off the 60 quid. But because money's harder now, I'll put £10 of that in the savings pot and live off 50 quid and just think of it as 50. And if I do go over, I know that I've got not only £10 from this week, but £10 from last week and the week before to go back.
Yeah, no, definitely. And those little pots that we put our money into ties nicely into next week's episode, which is about investing, which also ties nicely with the start of the new tax year, which will be it's on the 6th, so this time next week, roughly, where I have some plans to invest. I don't know what Ollie's plans are, we don't have to say that, but a percentage of my money is going to be invested, let's put it that way. So next week we'll talk about investing. Any last tips for budgeting, Ollie?
It's much more simple. Do it, and it's much more simple than it needs to be. Than you think it is.
It sounds like a laborious task, because you see on the internet like, it's got to spend a whole day doing it.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, and you'll save a lot of money for doing it.
And the one day you spend setting it up will then make it so much easier and make it like 3 minutes a day.
Exactly. Easy peasy. Right, perfect. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for joining, Ollie. We'll see you next week, and thanks for listening.
Bye.